welcome to another episode of Leaders Podcast. I'm really excited about today's discussion because today I'm joined by Mr. Bob Heelis, who's the Executive Director of the World Association of Detectives, and actually one of 3 President Emeritus status, which is the highest honor that you can have within the World Association of Detectives. So, Bob, thank you for taking the time to come and speak to me today. I'm really excited to hear all about you. But before we get into the detail, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Mike. I'm happy to be here. As you said, my name is Bob Heelis, and I'm honored to have been Executive Director of the World Association of Detectives for a total of 18 years now. Just nominated and Emeritus 2 years ago. And my history in 1983, I attended my first meeting in Hawaii, and I met some great people.
Fantastic, Bob. So let's just go back to the early days before when you started your investigation career. Could you talk a little bit about how you got into the industry and what made you choose this path?
I went to school for law enforcement, and I was hometown of Columbia Heights, Minnesota, while I was in college. And when I got out, when I graduated, I started testing at different departments. But what I found was I was testing with a lot of Vietnam veterans. We might have had 100 or 200 people testing for 2 or 3 openings, right. But all the veterans got veterans preference, an extra 5 points. So no matter how good I did on the tests, I wasn't getting hired. I became a firefighter, emergency medical technician. I was a field supervisor for an ambulance company. And all those things kind of added to a broad, basic background in public safety. And quite by accident, I saw an ad for a private investigator in the local paper. And I applied for that position and interviewed with about 90 other people. And by the end of the week, I found out they wanted to hire me. So that's where I started. I started doing a lot of surveillance, sitting in the back of a van, following people around. But that's how I learned. And eventually, within about 18 months, I had an opportunity to transfer out to a new office in Denver to manage that office. Within a year, I became partners with the owner. And less than a year after that, I bought him out. I bought the business.
Oh, wow. And where was the W.A.D. in this journey then? Was this pre-W.A.D. your time with the World Association of Detectives?
Yeah, well, this all happened in 1980 when I first started as a private investigator. And the conference in Honolulu was in 1983. Of course, you had to be in business or a manager or whatever to qualify for 3 years. So at 3 years, I applied for W.A.D. and went to Hawaii.
Wow. And did you hear of the association before, or how did you find out about the W.A.D.?
I just had a friend. They were at the W.A.D. conference in Italy the year before, and they got a hold and said, Bob, you need to go to Hawaii. And as a young 28, 29-year-old professional, I thought, wow, Hawaii, well, that's pretty exotic. But I'd never been there, and I did it. I went ahead and went to the conference, and I met some amazing people, some real legends in our profession. And some of them are gone now, but some of them are still here today.
Fantastic. So talk to me a little bit about what the association means to you, Bob.
Well, I learned early on after attending Hawaii that I had made a really good decision to join W.A.D. In fact, years later, looking back, I attribute that to probably one of my best business decisions that I ever made. Shortly after Hawaii, I started getting some referral work from places around the world, from Sumio, Hiroshima in Japan. That's where I got my first referral case, and it was a large case. Wow. Finding missing shipment of chemicals, and it was pretty interesting. I had to really use my head and call in some help to figure that one out, but we did it. We found it, and it's just things like that make you look back and go, wow, and since then, many other interesting cases from all over the world. but I think it's the friendships that I made. There's no place in the world where I couldn't go where I wasn't invited into somebody's home. And some of these people, I've been to their weddings, their birthday parties, their funerals, anniversary parties, and things like that all over the world.
So that was when you were, a contributing member. What made you make the decision to step into a more official role, as in giving your time back, running for the board, going through the chairs, devoting a lot of time, effort, and energy, right? Because it's your own time that you're putting in. Why go through that process? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Some of my new friends, as they went up through the roles, got on the board, became officers. In 1985, we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In 1986, I went to my first board meeting, midterm meeting in Lisbon. And in 1987, the annual conference was in Jerusalem. In my mind, for 4 years, because I joined in 83. But according to W.A.D. rules, it's 5 years because you count the year you joined. So they asked me to run for the board of directors in Jerusalem. I did. I got on the board. And I was also going to be the host in 1988 in Denver. I remember Stanley Smith swearing me in. Stanley was our first president emeritus. He was a legend in the industry, in the U.S. anyway, large security firm, offices all around the country, based out of Texas. But that was the impetus to move up the ladder, so to speak, until I became president in 1991 in Vancouver. And I just remember all these meetings. I've gone to every annual conference since I joined, with the exception of 1984. I couldn't figure out how to get away from my business and get to New Delhi. That was pretty exotic to a young man back then. And in 2006, I couldn't go to Tokyo because I was attending a murder trial. One of my friend's daughters was murdered, and I was very involved in that case for months, doing the searches, coordinating searches, until we found her 5 months later. So that was my priority. I had to be at that trial. Midterm meetings, I've been to every one since 1986, with the exception of 2004, because we were doing the searches that spring, a big search to try and find Drew. And the midterm was in Italy, and I really wanted to go, but I had to stay back and help with the searches. And that was the day that we found Drew's remains.
Oh, all right. God, yeah. I've seen that story, and I see you comment and share that regularly. Keeping us in the W.A.D., we've got a huge event coming up in a couple of months' time in September. Talk to me about what the centennial means to you, Bob.
We've been talking about this for 10, 15 years or longer, that we're moving up toward 100 years, and what a big deal that was. And boy, I've been traveling to different places and different hotels and different cities trying to find a hotel to host us. And for one reason or another, things weren't working out. We finally settled on Chicago. And you were there with me, along with some other guys, checking out different hotels. And we all had our opinions. And finally, through some good luck, I guess, the Drake became available, and they were interested in hosting us. And the Drake is a 100-year-old hotel, just a beautiful historic hotel right on the shores of Lake Michigan. And we've been working now for over 2 years to put this conference together. And again, you've been involved in that as well. And this is going to be a conference and a show unlike anything W.A.D. has seen. So the few people that will come there, I believe around 300, because that's all we have room for, will just have the experience of a lifetime. I guarantee you they'll never see anything like this again. Maybe the 200th, but I won't be involved in the planning for that one.
No, you're right, Bob. So say young investigators or some investigators that haven't made the decision to come yet, what can they expect? I know you're saying it's a big show, but what will be different at the Centennial this year?
Well, we've taken the basic formula that we use for annual conferences and tripled the fun and tripled the excitement. We're going to start out with, first we have our board meeting that mostly board of directors and a few other members attend, but the big event is going to be when we have our opening ceremony for the general membership meeting. And we also have a speaker that day from Truckers Against Trafficking. And I'm very, very proud that W.A.D is involved in this project. They're going to have a mobile exhibit, a semi-truck behind the hotel we can tour. It's like a small museum. And we're going to hear about what we can do, the public can do to fight human trafficking. And I think that's a big, big deal. That night, we'll have our welcome reception, and it's going to be a little bit different, quite different actually, because it's going to be a casino night party. So we're going to have gaming tables and showgirls and a band and blackjack tables and everything you can imagine. It'll be like a small private casino. So we'll have a lot of fun with that. Our gala celebration, rather than doing it on Saturday like we usually do, we're doing it on Grand Ballroom, the Palm Coast Ballroom, on Friday evening. It was booked up for a wedding on Saturday, of course. So we are going to have 300 people in this beautiful ballroom, historic ballroom where we had our W.A.D banquet in 1999. And in addition to a wonderful meal and our award ceremony and speeches from the incoming president, we have a band booked that's called the Duluth Transit Authority. They're coming from Minnesota, from my state, and they are a Chicago tribute band. And I've seen them perform. I'm going to see them in person because they're going to be in my town in 2 weeks, actually. But I've seen them perform online before that.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
I'm really looking forward to meeting them in person. And then to close it off, in the middle of all this, we have some wonderful seminars, really good seminars. We have the Past Presidents Luncheon on Saturday, and we have guest speaker Jeff Simon, who wrote the book about our founder, William Flynn. And that evening, we'll be going on a large ship out on Lake Michigan for our farewell dinner cruise. And that will wrap it up.
That sounds fantastic, Bob. It really does. What would you say to the young investigator, the newbie, that's never been to a meeting before? I know you've spoken about how what events the W.A.D will put on, but are they feel welcome when they come? Is there if there's someone new that doesn't know anyone, how is the association in terms of accepting the new age of investigator coming through, the new member coming through?
We have this welcome reception. When we have registration, we have a welcome committee, and they help get the ball rolling with introducing new people to some of our members. And many of our members are very social. I don't hesitate to walk up to somebody I don't recognize and introduce myself and find out this is their first meeting, or, maybe they've been a member for 5 years, but this is their first meeting, or maybe they just joined in the past few months. And I know you're the same way. We just go up and meet people and socialize with them. Mm-hmm. And that's how I started when I first got welcomed. So I like to play that forward, so to speak. And maybe 50 years from now, people will be talking about, I met our former executive director 50 years ago, and share those memories like I do now with Norman Sloan and Joe Vincent Sr. and, so many people that I met in Hawaii when I first joined.
One thing that fascinates me about you, Bob, is you remember years, meetings, locations, and events from since you joined. You know every year, every meet, every location, and you have that programmed. It's like W.A.D has been a big part of your life and your career, that you can bring up the history instantly without any mistake or error. That's one thing I've noticed, and that is your deep skill set in doing that. That's quite challenging to do, to bring up historical facts over 40 years from different locations, different meetings, and you recall it instantly. That's I commend you for that, Bob. I want to talk a little bit about challenges now, slightly different. We've got a very big board on the W.A.D. There's numerous countries around the world. What challenges do you see in being in a leadership position and having to deal with a variety of cultural differences? How do you navigate that?
You have to accept the diversity and the differences from different places, different people around the world. And for the most part, I think W.A.D. is unique that way. We do all come together. You have to set aside political differences. You just have to. And we accept people from other countries, other religions, other races. I mean, I've always said we're a model for how the world should be. Look at us, look how we can get along. Not always. I mean, I'm going to say there's some arguments here and there, some disagreements about some situations, but we come together and resolve those situations, and we're better for it, for understanding other people's ideas and thoughts and beliefs.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the W.A.D., you're right, is apolitical. It's not a political association. It's independent and neutral, which makes it growing and inclusive a lot more streamlined. How do you see the association develop, Bob, over the next generation? The way things are moving, is there still a place for associations to interact with the international investigation community? And how do you see the association evolve?
Well, I see W.A.D. at its strongest point in history right now. We have, in fact, today we could go over 1,000 members for the first time ever. I mean, I'm checking on that daily, and we're very, very close.
Fantastic.
So I'll be the first to announce that when I know for sure that we've hit 1,000 members. But I see W.A.D. moving forward with the leadership that we have right now, the people on the board moving up the ranks, the people that have been helping with this conference.
Yeah,
I think W.A.D. is here to stay for a long, long time.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit about your leadership journey, Bob. You've been in numerous leadership positions. What makes a strong leader? What do you feel makes a strong leader, Bob?
A strong leader, you have to be able to share your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas, but also listen to others. They may disagree with you, or they may agree with you, or they may have other ideas too that are very valid and something that you want to incorporate. I started out, the first elected position was as president of the Professional and Private Investigators Association of Colorado. Dale Wunderlich, of course, he passed away a few years ago now, but he was a very, very good friend of mine from Colorado, retired Secret Service agent. And he and I were very active in that state association. And when they asked him to run for president, he said, I will, under one condition, that Bob Helis serve as my vice president. So I was his vice president that year and then became president the next year.
All right.
I got involved in NCISS, the National Council of Investigation and Security Services, back in 1987. Went to my first meeting that year in Las Vegas. I met Ed McClain and, just a whole bunch of other people there too as well, except most of them were from the U.S. And there were a lot of dual members, a whole lot. So I got some of them to join W.A.D. because they were, and others got me to join NCISS. But eventually in NCISS, after being on the board for many, many years, I was elected president there in 2013. And I'm one of three people, I guess, actually, that served as president of their state association, a national association, and an international association. There was Bert Hines was the first, then John Talaganis, and then me, all very well-known people from W.A.D.
And was that local, state, state, national, and international in that order?
Yes, it was, as a matter of fact. Oh, I take that back. I'm sorry. I was on the board for so long in NCISS. No, I was president in 1986 in PPIAC, and then 1991 in W.A.D., and then it was 2013 in NCISS. So I was kind of a holdout in NCISS.
So NCISS after. And which group was the most challenging to be president then? Which one gave you? Which one was the most that took up most of your time? Would you say?
W.A.D. by far. It had most members. It had the most members, and of course, I was dealing with people, other officers, board members from all over the world, and the issues facing W.A.D., which were mostly internal about conferences and elections and who will run for third, and it just really it took up a long time. And back in those days, we didn't really have the internet. Certainly not like we have it now. I mean, have a fax machine in your office was a big deal. And so you're on the phone a lot internationally, talking to people or sending letters or faxing a letter. It was very, very different from when you just go on your laptop or your phone and shoot off an email to somebody.
No, you're right. The comms are a lot more easier now. I don't recall a day that's passed, Bob, over the last God knows how many years that we haven't interacted in one way, shape or form. A message, an email, a call between us all to keep the association moving forward. It's surprising the amount of time, effort and energy it takes to run an association like the World Association of Detectives, right? Okay, Bob, I'm going to finish up in a couple of minutes, but I just wanted you to summarize what's the biggest highlight of your career, would you say?
I would have to say, association-wise, by far, it's W.A.D. The opportunities it's given me, the people I've met, the work I've received to build my business, and also to have those contacts all over the world. My clients knew I had these contacts, and my clients would, law firms and corporations, they would hire me because they knew I could get something done in London or in Sydney or in New Delhi. They knew I had that capability, and that put me really a large step up above a lot of my competition that I had back in the day. As casework, gosh, there's so many big cases when I think back over the years. Sometimes, a really good year can be when you found this runaway 15-year-old girl that the police, and through your skills and your instincts. I remember one in particular that was related to one of our members, and they just begged me for help and said, the family, they don't have the money, but we'll pay for it. And I had a very limited budget, but I just put my all into it. And within a week, I found her sitting in the back of a car because I knew her boyfriend was going to school in the evenings to be a mechanic, and she was sitting in the back of his car in the parking lot waiting for him. So I just sat there and waited for him to come out after class. I had been in contact with the police, knew what was going on. I told them for about 15 or 20 minutes until the police arrived, when they pulled into a convenience store gas station. Something her back and put them back together and get her the help she needed. Those are things that you never forget. And of course, the ones that hit world headlines, national headlines, but world headlines, were a couple cases I worked back in 2003. The one that probably I think about Drew Shadeen every day. Mm-hmm. And she was abducted. She was a college student in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and she was abducted and tortured and murdered and left in a ditch. And we spent 5 months through the winter doing searches using a bloodhound cadaver dog, using volunteers, citizen volunteers, friends and family. And it took 5 months. And finally, on a spring morning in April of 2004, she was found. And then exactly 1 month after that, we decided we'd help another local family whose daughter had been missing for 18 months. and they just never got the attention, the headlines, the help that Drew's family got. So Drew's dad and I decided we should try and help these people. And the next morning, the local newspaper read, "Search resumes for Erica Dahlquist." The very next morning, I had not contacted anybody yet. That was somebody sitting on my shoulder. And it's very emotional. And anyways, I got involved, contacted the police detective that was handling that case, and told him what we were interested in doing. He said, "I think the family would love your help." He put me together with them. And within 2 weeks, exactly 4 weeks after Drew was found, we found the remains of Erica Dahlquist. So, there's divine intervention. There's Drew sitting on my shoulder, pushing me along. I really think she's an angel that follows me around all these years.
Yeah, you're probably right there, Bob. Probably right. Okay. Well, thanks for that, Bob. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. If anyone wants to know about the centennial event, the details for W.A.D are coming up on your screen now. It is an event. It's the largest, biggest industry event that the investigation community on an international level will ever see. It's 100 years. It's the largest and oldest association of its kind in the world. Check out the World Association of Detectives. Click on the link. And if you haven't registered by now, time is running out. Register, because we will sell out very, very soon. Bob Healis, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for your time, dedication, energy, input, everything you do for the association. You are the true backbone of the W.A.D. Thanks again, Bob. Mike. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and I'll see you soon.